I'll tell you when it's connected.
Are we live? Welcome everybody to Love-Based Strategies. This evening, I come to each and every one of you this evening. I'm so excited to be here. You know, this has been something I've been talking about for a long time, and you know, more than anything, I really feel like it's love that has to be what wins the day. You know, there's so much going on throughout the course of everything, all day long, every day, that distracts us in such a way that we seem to forget the fundamental things of our humanity and who we are and what makes us the human beings that God made us to be. I think we'd be crazy to believe for a minute, even for a second, we'd be crazy to even believe that 2020 has been anything other than horrific. It's been a year that has just been absolutely one calamity after another. I like to call it the perfect storm. We have a lot of people on YouTube. Also, we have a lot of people on Instagram Live, and a lot of people on Facebook Live this evening, and we also have many people joining us with our Zoom. So I want to say hello and thank you. Thank you for all of you being here this evening and taking this time out to find some opportunity to make the world that we live in just a little more lovely through love and all the things that we do in order to bring forth a better existence. Mankind, as we know it, exists just because of the characteristics and the things we decide to do, and the things we make a very strong, deciding decision to move forward in ways that are full of love, full of truth, full of all the things that are required that we would live in peace and harmony with one another. And it kind of sounds a little bit like a Miss USA speech, if you will. You know, when I always remember, you know, a beautiful woman would always come up, and it was Miss Universe, and you know, and they would always say, you know, what would you like to do? Well, I would like to have world peace. And I think that's really interesting because, you know, world peace is a really cool thing, and love leads to world peace. But the truth of the matter is, how many of us really take that responsibility? Take that responsibility to actually be the change in the world. You know, Gandhi said this many years ago, and it was one of his biggest things is, be the change in the world that you wish to be. The truth of the matter is, if you want the world around you to change, then you have to be willing to step up and do that. So let's take a look a little bit at 2020 and what that looks like. Let's get a little bit of an understanding of why 2020 puts us in a position of where we are now. There's a lot to understand. There's a lot to take away. And when we take away all of these things, we need to recognize that if we are not completely tuned in to understanding the woes and the reasons why things are what they are, we will find ourselves in such a way that many will come away with a very distorted look as to how to make things better. When I say a very distorted way of making things better, if we don't recognize the actual situations and what has actually happened, we find ourselves in such a way that we will be making decisions, and we will be making decisions to fix things, but not having 100% clarity as to what the things that need to be fixed and a good principle to fix them. So let's take a look at what that looked like. In 2020, leading up to now, putting us in this position, we have so many different things. The first thing is COVID hit us and smacked us like an absolute atom bomb. You know, the aftermath of COVID, you would think, is sickness and people not feeling well and unfortunately some people dying. In fact, a lot of people dying. But there's aftermath that we're not particularly 100% conscious of. And that aftermath is absolutely insane. The aftermath is such that we have people with tremendous anxiety. We have people with hopelessness. We have people who have been alienated from society and different types of things. Would you believe for a moment that divisiveness in us as a people could be a byproduct of COVID? Maybe possibly. We'll explore that later. But for now, let's take a look at these things that have been incredibly impacted. How many people walk around and say, things are not like they used to be? We have to get used to this new normal. The economy is not what it used to be, because the economy is absolutely a byproduct of what had happened with COVID. The repercussions keep going further and further and further. And here we are in 2021. I know everyone in 2021 spent time and said, you know something? We are going to absolutely have a different year. We're going to turn a leaf. It's going to be different. 2021, so long, 2020, never want to see you again. 2021, here we are. But I challenge you to think differently. Is it 2021 that you're really after? Is the calendar just flipping over another month going to be enough to create the change you want to see? I think that's wishful thinking. In fact, if I could be honest, I think it's a little naive. It's almost like waiting on a crystal ball to change your life. Truth of the matter is, it's not until we all take responsibility for what we are, where we are, and how we move forward, and is the only way it's going to change. So we talked about a couple of different things. First, we talked about people feeling alienated. We talked about the economy. We talked about anxiety. We talked about, we didn't talk about hopelessness, but I'm going to throw in hopelessness. We also talked about division, right? All of these things are byproducts of what COVID did to us. Question is, are we going to continue to move forward and say, wow, this is what COVID did to me, and then become a byproduct of its aftermath? Or are we going to stand strong? Are we going to make those decisions that move the ball forward? You know, there's a couple of things about love that a lot of people don't know. Love is filled and riddled with truth. But you know something? Truth, let's be honest, we live in a day and age where, as I like to quote a few good men, you can't handle the truth. The truth of the matter is, a lot of us just simply can't handle the truth. And here's the truth. The truth is real hard. It's a lot like getting a cut when you were a kid. Remember when you got a cut on your elbow and it's been on there for a long time, and that Band-Aid almost became like part of you, right? And the adhesive was on your skin, and it almost felt like it would never come off. It was healed underneath there, but you had to take off that Band-Aid. And the only way to take off that Band-Aid was to rip it off and just endure the pain for a moment and expose what was there so that the healing could begin. Let's talk a little bit about division. Where there is division, there could be no love. And where there is love, there cannot be division. Because it is something that is in direct contrast with one another. Today we're going to achieve a couple things. We're going to achieve having a heightened sense of understanding, and we're going to have a game plan. When we're all done, we're going to have a game plan on how to move forward. I'm going to encourage you guys to take a couple moments, and if you have questions in the chat box, throw up some questions. I will answer those questions, and we're going to actually be putting them on little index cards, and Krista, my niece and assistant, is going to be handing those over to me, and I'm going to answer those for you, and I want to say hello to you, and I want to know what you're thinking and what you're feeling. And guess what? Here, you ready? I'm bringing forth this love strategy, but the truth of the matter is, you may not agree with everything I say, and I don't expect you to. But the one thing we can all agree on is that love heals a multitude of sins, and that is a fact. The truth of the matter is, nobody has ever been in a position where they said, oh my God, you loved me too much. Oh my goodness, you were out of line the way you loved me, intense and intentionally, and I am super offended. You see, the truth of the matter is, as we go forward, we're going to be talking about the characteristics of love. And I want you to put a little tick mark. Think about that for a moment. Put a little tick mark. Characteristics of love. We're going to talk about that because guess what? You may have come here tonight thinking a couple of things. You may have come here tonight and sitting in this audience, our studio audience, for lack of a better word, or being here with Zoom, and you may have said, what the heck does this have to do with love? I thought I was going to get on this thing, and I was going to be all ready for Valentine's Day. Well, you know, look behind me. We got Valentine's Day at AF Bennett. And yes, it's a big holiday here for us. We sell lots of gift certificates, and it's incredible. We bring couples in, and everyone feels all lovey. We'd love to do that. But the truth of the matter is, sometimes love is not what you think it is. Sometimes love is truth, action, and a bitter pill to swallow. The truth of the matter is we live in a society that tells us that if it's bitter, don't touch it. If it makes you unhappy, stay away from it. If you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see, change the mirror. If you look in the mirror and it doesn't look exactly what you want it to look like, put a filter on it and you look like something else. But the truth of the matter is, we have to see things for what they really are. And when we do that, everything changes. Now, you may also be thinking to yourself, well, geez Louise, I mean, he just talked about a whole lot of things. How could I possibly, for a moment, have effect over any of these things? How could I possibly change the world around me? How could I be of any kind of real influence? My goodness gracious, I am just a citizen. I am just a cog in the wheel. I am just this or I'm unjust that. I want you to take I am just and take it and throw it in the garbage tonight because you are not just anything. You are a child of God and that gives you extreme power. Whether you know it or not, that's who you are. Start walking in it and you'll see the power you have. So, let's start with the first thing that hit us hard in 2020 in COVID. And I don't want to use the 2020 word anymore. And I don't want to even say that. But the truth of the matter is, let's just say the last 12 months. The last 12 months, sickness. We've lost friends. We've lost family. That's just the truth. COVID took away some of the people we love. And the truth of the matter is, that hurts. But I'm certain every one of those people that loved us want to see us healing, want to see us moving forward, want to see each and every one of us going forth with our lives because it's a legacy to them. To know that they impacted you in such a way that you were a good success in your life. So yes, heal, mourn, but also think about hope. Think about the horizon. Think about, as little Annie said, the sun will come out tomorrow, because that is true. I want to talk about the word division. In the last 12 months, we've had division on levels that I can't even get my mind around. Now, I generally don't really talk in terms of politics because that's not really where I want to be. See, really where I come in is I come in places of good and bad, good and evil. That's where I live. I live in how people love and care about one another. I'm not so concerned about how nice you are to me on the surface. I'm not so concerned about how nice I am to you on the surface of what you may perceive me to be. See, the truth of the matter is, I could be all warm and lovely, politically correct, coming forth to you in what looks like love, but I could be dastardly taking a knife and sticking it in your back, and you would never see it. And when you do, you'd say, that was absolutely not love. You see, the truth of the matter is, love tells the truth. And the truth of the matter is, we are a deeply divided nation, and there are things that have divided us in such a way, whether it was ethnicity, racial issues, gender issues, all these different types of things. And the truth of the matter is, we worried so much about a wall being built on the borders, but the truth of the matter is, we did a very good job. And yes, take responsibility for it. I'm looking at you. I'm smiling at you. Take responsibility for it because we all built our own walls in the last 12 months. We built walls up around ourselves, walls that were very, very, sometimes our own, and sometimes through the media, sometimes through opinions through social media, sometimes through the opinions of others. And the truth of the matter is, as a result, rather than seeing the goodness and love in each and every one, what we've done is we've started doing things that are divisive. Guess what? We all have to take responsibility for this. We've all said, well, we're like this, but you're like that. And when you start saying we are and then you are, the truth of the matter is you become part of the problem. Now, if there's evil happening and you stand against it and you put your hand out and say, no, this is unacceptable, that's different. But truth be told, if we want true healing to happen, we're going to be talking about how love changes that and how love moves that ball forward. But we have to rip off the Band-Aid. We have to know what it is. We have to take responsibility and not feel bad because you're of a culture, because you're of a certain socioeconomic part of the country, or whatever it is. You should be proud of who you are and how God made you and the place that you've been blessed, that you have actually landed. And you should never feel guilty for that, because God has blessed you. And the truth of the matter is, I believe this is the truth, that if we all take responsibility for ourselves and we stop worrying about somebody else taking responsibility for us, all of a sudden we get to drive the bus of life that we're on. I want to talk to you about the economy. You know, truth of the matter is, when we look at the economy, there's so much uncertainty. We see all this stuff. We watch the news. We watch the media. We see a stock market that is booming. It's boomed, and guess what? We said, oh my goodness, if there's going to be a new president, maybe it won't boom. Guess what? New president's here, it's still booming. Stock market tells us that it's booming, but the truth of the matter is, what do we see around us? We see businesses closing, brands that we have come to know and love. We see department stores. We see friends and family. We see restaurants. We drive down boulevards. We drive down strip malls. We go into malls. And it is scary because when you do that, you see places that you used to love who are closed. I don't know about you, but that makes me a little scared. It makes me scared about what it looks like, because if I see something bigger than myself that has been successful and no longer is successful, it makes me then be scared about me being successful because I'm a lot smaller. But here's the truth. And I keep saying the truth because I'm going to say, Jesus always said in the Bible, he spoke about the word is truth. This is not a religious lesson, because I'm not a religious guy. I'm a spirit-filled guy, but I'm not a religious guy. And I will tell you this. The truth will set you free. And when we understand the truth and we recognize that the economy is scary, what do we do with that? We'll talk about that, because I promise you, as we went on, we were going to talk about the spirit of love and how the spirit of love connects directly into that. Anxiety. Anxiety is when you wake up in the morning and you take that first breath. And you know that first breath, when you take that first breath, and it goes like this. You ready? It's that breath that is so choppy on the in and it's so choppy on the out. It's when you are uncertain of what the future looks like. It's when you don't know what your tomorrows are going to be like. And the truth of the matter is, it's one of the aftermaths of the last 12 months. People are having major anxiety. It's true. And if we recognize what ails us, we can then go on and fix it. So, what does anxiety look like? It looks like a lot of things. It looks like being afraid to take that next step. It looks like being concerned if you should go and even take that job interview. Should I even go out today? I have anxiety. I might get ill. And that's a very real anxiety. Well, should I say it's a very real situation. However, If you're in this place where you have so much anxiety, it then polarizes you. And once again, if it polarizes us, it makes us stuck still. And if we're stuck still, we can't do anything because we become no good to ourselves and the people around us and the world around us. Isolation. Everyone in our audience, I believe everyone here on our YouTube, on our Facebook Live, on our Instagram Live, every one of our joiners here with Zoom this evening have all experienced a level of isolation to some degree. That's a fact. Why? Because for our own well-being, our governing bodies have put us in situations where we had to shelter in place, stay home at times, so we would be able to be safe and not spread a virus to other people, and also to keep ourselves well. However, there's a byproduct, and the byproduct is isolation. I'm not sure if you recognize that you were meant to be in fellowship and in harmony with other human beings. Here's a cool, well, I don't want to say, should I say not cool, but I'm going to change it to cruel fact. Here's a cruel fact. A cruel fact is that in prison, when a convict does something really, really horrible, or really has horrible behavior, the thing that they do to them, they don't whip them, they don't beat them, thank God. They don't torture them, thank God. But they give them the worst torture possible. They put them in what's known as isolation. They put them in a small room that's dark with no sunlight coming in, and they take them out, and this is what finally drives them completely crazy. Sometimes they put them in there for 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days. It's cruel. It's very cruel. I don't subscribe to this on any level. What they do is they put them in these places, and then because they become disconnected from other human beings for an extended period of time, what happens is they start to go crazy. What happens is there's parts of the psyche that actually start to erode when you're in isolation. And the truth of the matter is, that's an extreme isolation, but we've all experienced some form of isolation over the last 12 months. And there's a byproduct that comes from that. Some of us become recluses. We don't want to go out anymore. We're quite all right binge watching one thing after another, eating, and not leaving the house. We become very, very comfortable with ordering everything in, from our laundry to our food, to our groceries, to takeout, to even ice cream, and everything we buy. But there is a price to be paid for that. And the price to be paid for that is isolation. Isolation leads to depression. Isolation leads to depression. It also leads to, also going back to anxiety, it also leads to, unfortunately, there have been documented cases of people who have, through isolation and being cut off from other human connectivity. Hear it again, human connectivity. Because God made us so that we connect with each other, that we are in harmony with each other, that we play off of each other. And when that happens, you go into sometimes a black hole. And that black hole, a lot of destructive things happen. Yes, you're safe from COVID. But in that black hole, a lot of things live. Sometimes depression to the point of suicide lives in there. Sometimes we become so absorbed in ourselves through social media that we lose a sense of reality. We start living in what's known as an alternate reality. A reality that's not even real. It's an alternate reality. And we start believing things that are not completely true about ourselves, about other people. I've watched some very good people in the last couple months, especially when we were under lockdown. You know, some people say conspiracy theories and this and that, whatever it is. And I've seen them all, because guess what? I watch and I see everything. I look at all different types of, I look at everyone's opinion, because I'm very, very interested in what people are thinking. I've seen some really, really crazy things flying around the media, the social media, about whether you thought the left was crazy or you thought the right was crazy. And I have to tell you, I saw people sink into such black holes under isolation to the degree that they didn't even understand what was real anymore. We need simply to be in harmony with one another. And we're going to talk about that once we get back to love. Because right now it seems grim. It seems really, really hard in texture, this presentation right now. It's a bitter pill. We're still tasting the bitter pill. We still have a while to go. But I promise you, on the other side of this, there'll be hope. I promise you, on the other side of this, there'll be reconciliation. I promise you, on the other side of this, there will be an action plan should you choose, I'll say it again, should you choose to act, that will bring forth hope and love in your life. And I couldn't think of a better present to give all of you guys on Valentine's Day other than real, unadulterated love that is steeped in truth. So, hopelessness. What is hopelessness? Hopelessness means you get to a place in your life where you believe there is nothing around the bend, over the hill, in the horizon, at the end of the rainbow. You believe there's nothing there that's good, that if you stick around and you persevere, that you will make it through. But I want to share something with you. There's a battle. There's a battle that goes on between this ear and this ear. And that battle takes place in the mind. It is so key and so important to recognize that hope starts in your mind, in your spirit, in your connection to knowing that God's got greater things for you and that you've been put on this earth to prosper you, to give you a future. But you know something? If we don't have faith, it's very difficult for us to have hope. See, everyone can have hope. Everyone can have hope when things are good. Everyone can have hope when you have money in the bank. Everyone can have hope when you're healthy. Everyone can have hope when things are going just smooth and sailing fine. But you see, where the true rubber meets the road is when you don't have the good health, when you don't have the money, when things are, when your kids left or got on drugs and you don't know what's going to happen to them, when you lost your job, you lost your business, all these things are stacked up against you. You see? You ready? I'm coming to you close. There is no one on the planet that strong-minded to do it all on their own. The truth of the matter is, you have to have faith in believing that there will be hope. There will be a brighter day. As Annie said, the sun will come out tomorrow. You see, some of you may be on this call, maybe on this Zoom with us, and you may be saying to yourself, well, hold on a second. He said he wasn't this religious kind of guy, but yet he's talking about hope and faith. He's talking about believing in God. I could sit here and tell you, believe in a higher power. I could do that. And the truth of the matter is, some of you might be offended right now. I hope you're not. I hope you know that I'm coming to you from here, the depths of my heart, the place where love, real love lives. And I'm here to tell you, put your faith in God, and you'll see. Let's move on. I want to share with you something else. I want to share with you this evening that there is something that has been gnawing at me And I don't know if it's been the same with you, but it's been gnawing at me for quite a long time. And the thing that's really been gnawing at me, probably above all of this, you see, I've been through hard times, but the truth of the matter is, and I think same like you, I've never in my lifetime seen what's known as the perfect storm. This is the perfect storm. This is it. COVID, the economy, division, this, that. I mean, my goodness gracious, if anyone was to ever think of a moment in time in your lives where you could say, oh, really? Anything else? No, thank you. But, you know, the truth of the matter is, it's been on my heart. Because sometimes I can get to feeling sorry for myself. I don't know about you, but maybe you're a lot stronger than I am. But I can get to feeling sorry for myself. I can. I could be I'm working so hard, I'm not making as much money as I should be making, and you know, I'm just putting all this extra effort in, and you start to go into that little loom, you know? I kind of feel, and I kind of know deep in the heart of me, that since this has been such a difficult time, there's also been other people that have endured and gone through things much harder. You know, the truth of the matter is, I always talk about, you know, we think we have it tough, but then I always think about, and we're all so far removed from this because this is so far from our reality, but I always go back and I always think about that woman walking through war-torn Poland with her 2 children on her hands, and she's walking with them, and she has 1 suitcase in their hand, and 1 child is walking with 1 shoe on their foot, and she's scrummaging through broken rooms, broken buildings, in fact, rubble, looking back at where she used to live because it's no longer there, it's a pile of bricks, and saying to herself, my husband is dead, he went to war, I don't even have my husband, but I have my 2 children. What is it that she mustered up? What is it that all these people throughout history have mustered up in the most horrible times for them to be able to say, no, there is goodness. No, I will go on. No, I will persevere. What did they have? If you go back and you look at the autobiographies of people that have survived such things, Holocaust, whatever it might be, they'll always tell you one thing. It wasn't The Secret. It wasn't some New Age book. It wasn't a motivational teaching by some motivational teacher. They'll always tell you it was their faith in God. And I'm here to tell you, if you want to know more, step into my front door. I challenge anybody to walk through that front door. I promise you I'll have a cappuccino waiting for you. And I promise you, I'll let you see where the love really lives, because it lives in your hope, the hope that tomorrow will be better. So this is the point in time where we go over the hoop, we get over the hill, we jump over into the happy land. I got a big smile on my face now, and we start to talk all nice. So this is the point in time where we talk about where the hope lives, where all of these things that we talked about division. Well, guess what? You know something? All these points, they were all the byproduct of the last 12 months. Well, guess what? I'm going to take them on. You ready? I'm going to put my boxing gloves on right now, and I'm going to get ready, and we're going to go fist to fist, toe to toe, head to head, and we're going to go, and we're going to have a little boxing match with each one of these things. And right now, let's talk about our opponent, division. Guess what? Division can be conquered, but it gets conquered with a certain arsenal and a certain bunch of tools, a certain bunch of things you can have at your disposal, and it's called the characteristics of the spirit of love. You might ask what they are. I'll tell you. They are joy, they are peace, they're forgiveness, they're kindness, their gentleness, and their self-control. Whoa, self-control, discipline, how the heck is that love? Remember I told you about this before? I said love is not only about happy, cushy little harps and arrows drawn by cupids and nice things to say to people on the outside, but it's also done with truth. self-control and discipline, live in that place of truth. So when we go and we take a look at division, division is a really, really interesting thing. And you know, it's been said, a house divided cannot stand. That simply means if you want to take something apart, learn how to divide and conquer. But I promise you, you're going to be living in a spirit of darkness. And I promise you, you will pay for that. So learn to live in a spirit of forbearance and love. So if we have what I like to call the spirit of gentleness, and we start encountering people that are different than us, have different opinions, and we learn to do, see here, 1 ear, 2 ears, we learn to do twice the amount of listening. We only have one mouth because we're supposed to listen 2 times as much as we speak. Listen to the people around you. You may not always agree with them, but you know what happens when you listen to people and you show them empathy and you show them that you actually care? It builds bridges. When you build that bridge, guess what? A lot of times you walk over that bridge together. And as you're walking over that bridge together, you get to know somebody. You get to know that person that's a different color than you. You get to know that person's a different orientation than you. You get to know that person has a little bit of a different political view than you. You walk with them, and before you know it, as you're walking, you start talking about all kinds of things, and before you know it, you're friends. And then the walls of division stop coming down. They start coming down. Because you can't have division in the face of love. It never works. That's why our biggest sword, our biggest weapon is love. All right, we talked about the economy. Everyone's got their boxing gloves on? Let's go. The economy, it's beating us up, but we're ready to strike back. How do we strike back? We strike back with a 1-2, and we take responsibility for ourselves. You see, once again, the truth of the matter is that we've been trained to think we are entitled and someone should do it for us. Someone should send us something that's going to make it all better. You know, the truth of the matter is when we go back to that lady in World War II, when we go back to all the thousands of people, millions of people all throughout the millennia that have gone through adversity, there was not somebody there making it all better for them, and no one thought they were entitled, because the truth of the matter is, and here comes the truth, get ready for it, you're not going to like it, but get ready for it. The truth of the matter is, the only thing you're really entitled to is life and liberty. Live with integrity, take responsibility for yourself, work hard, and the economy around you will change. But if you wait for someone to do it for you, I promise you, the economy and the world that you live in is going to constantly be manipulated by others, and if that's what you're all about, it's your business. But the truth of the matter is, it's the spirit of self-control. And we just said that self-control. That's self-control. Being able to control yourself, to be disciplined, to be able to say, I'm going to strike out, I'm going to go forward, I'm going to take responsibility for myself. That's self-control. That's discipline, guys. No one likes the ugly word discipline anymore. No one likes that word. The reason why people don't like it is because it makes you look in that mirror. And when you look in that mirror, here it comes. When you look in that mirror of self-control and you really just want entitlement and you look in that mirror, you know what you see? Where's my filter? I need a filter. There's no filter. It's just you and the backside of that mirror. So if you want healing in your economy, take responsibility. Build it one brick at a time. Anxiety. There's only one way I know of getting beyond anxiety, is to be in prayer and meditation. Prayer and meditation, asking God for that peace that goes beyond all peace. Asking Him to come into your life and to bring that peace. I promise you, everyone on this call, whether you're an atheist, whether you're a Hindu, wherever you are, pray that one prayer and see, and really be earnest in your truth, and be earnest in doing it, and tell me if you don't wind up with peace. I promise you're going to have peace. And that gets rid of anxiety. Isolation. When we talked about before, about being kind to other individuals, kindness, sometimes we have to be kind to ourselves also. We have to be kind to ourselves, and we have to use our minds to know that we have to get out there. We have to start being the people that we've been built to be. We need to get out and spend time with others. Now, I'm saying do it safely. I'm not saying break COVID laws, endanger yourself or the people around you. Oh my goodness, no, I'm not saying that. But I am saying that if you really want to beat that one, you got to do it with the spirit of being kind to yourself. You also got to be able to do it with the spirit of jumping out and taking a leap. Get out. I know that it's hard, but you can do it. Hopelessness. Would you believe, as positive as I sound, that I experience sometimes hopelessness, that I experience depression, that I experience the feeling of being overwhelmed, and it's not fair, and all those emotions? You know, just because we have emotions doesn't mean we have to give in to them, because we've been given, once again, that spirit, right? That incredible spirit of self-control, which we can execute to take captive every thought that lives in our brains that is negative. You know, you ready for this? Not every thought we manifest in our brains is a good one. I'm guilty of it. I manifest some pretty toxic thoughts in my head, and I have to take them captive, and I have to say, no, that's not what is truth, and I have to be able to put those things down. So I ask you, if you want to be hopeful and not be hopelessness, you have to take control of this playground. What they say, you know, the devil loves the playground of the mind, right? We have to be able to control our minds, and we have to be able to do that. Now, loving people well in 2021, especially with Valentine's Day coming up. I said to you before, you may have the idea in your head. You may be thinking to yourself, how can I do this? I am just this. I am just that. I asked you to say the words, I am just, and take them and throw them over your shoulder, right? I asked you to do that. What I'd like you to do is now recognize who you are and recognize that you have the ability to change the world one person at a time, one brick at a time. Don't try to change the world around you with huge strokes of a pen. Guess what? We're not the President of the United States. We can't do that. But you know what we can do? We can influence our friends. We can influence the people that we work with. We can make a decision when we pick up our phone and we go to social media. We can choose to speak words of life and not death over the people that we know by putting out goodness, by putting out all of the virtues of the spirit of love, which is joy, peace, forgiveness, kindness, gentleness, and self-control. Every time you think, I'm going to interact with a person, use that overlay. And I promise you, when you start changing the way you do things, the world around you starts to change. And you will become a great influence. And you will do some incredible things. Now, Krista, I know that people have been coming up with different ideas and people have been sharing some different questions. So why don't we start with our first question? Can we bring it over to me, please?
Yes.
I'll grab it right there.
Yes.
So I have a question over here. It says, how can love change our world from a practical perspective? And that comes from Chad and Danielle. Well, you know, love can change our world from a practical perspective just by the way we treat people and just by the way we engage. You know, there's no huge currency here to show the fruits of the spirit of love to another person. It doesn't cost us anything. And guess what? Before you know it, that person goes on to do something which is incredible. You ready? I know when I speak negativity into somebody, and when I come at somebody really hard, or I say bad things over that person, and I get angry. I really do. Would you believe it? Anyway, when I do that, you know what happens? It ripples out. It's like when you throw a stone on a lake, a still lake, and it hits and it creates a ripple, and that ripple goes out. That person, excuse my French, gets messed with, and then they go on to mess with the next person. But love is contagious. When you start showing that, you start walking on a real life experience. You know, I used to hear this a lot. Lead like Jesus. Just go out and be that leader, not in words, but actually going out and doing it. You do that, you will be able to change our world from a very practical perspective. Chad, Danielle, thank you for sharing that. Do we have any others? Do you have one over there you're going to bring me? Because right now I only have one and we're on set. and you want me to do them, you gotta bring them to me.
Well, I have a question.
Okay, so if you can speak loudly, I will be happy to answer.
Okay, so I have a question. So going back to the difficult road that many people are experiencing from a financial standpoint right now, and you brought up this example of this woman in Poland, right? And can you talk a little bit more about just, you know, it's great to have hope, but we also have to realize we may not bear the fruit of that hope for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 8 months. How do we keep walking in that hope every day?
Well,
how do we walk in that faith every day?
Well, Maria shared. What Maria's sharing with us is this. Went back for those if you heard the question, but I'm going to reiterate the question again. What does that hope look like with that woman who was in World War II in Warsaw, walking with her children, and how does she continue to renew that hope every day and be able to continue to go forward and be able to know that there's going to be a tomorrow? Well, I do believe I answered that before with faith and a resounding faith in God. But I'm going to bring it back. You know, there was a movie many years ago, and this probably doesn't really tie into it very well, but the name of the movie does. It was called True Grit. You know, the truth of the matter is, some people are born with real grit. They can persevere. They can walk over miles of glass and still keep smiling. Some of us are a little more tender-hearted, and that's enough to break us. I really believe fellowship, going back to, I think that fellowship through being with other people who are like-minded, who are supportive, a lot of times helps us get to that next step and be able to persevere to another day. I think that's really important, the way we're built. So part of it is who we are as a human being, and then another part of it is, who we are as a human being, our connection to God, and then also the people around us. Because we know that if we are with people who are dragging us down, you know, really the best thing to do with people dragging you down is pick them up and get them off you and drop them over here and continue on. So I hope that answers your question. We have some other questions here? Oh, thank you. Okay. I have another question here is, how do you experience love when you feel alone? Wow. You guys keep asking me these questions, which are going to bring me right back to my faith. So I'm going to answer it. I experience love every day through my relationship with God. It brings me back to a story. It was in Rome. It was probably about 60 years, I want to say, after Christ was on the earth, and the Apostle Paul. He was in prison, and he was isolated, and they isolated him purposely. And he goes on to write these incredible letters, and sending out these letters to the various different people who are new believers, the churches of all different around the provinces, or outside the provinces of Rome and Judea. And he goes on to write these inspiring letters, and I would always say to myself, my goodness gracious, how is this man writing these letters He's in prison, isolated and alone, yet he's writing these encouraging letters to encourage these other people who are free. I believe that can only really be done if you are in concert with God. And I also believe that if you're, once again, and there are people, I'm sure there are people on this call who are atheists, I believe it's really important to surround yourself with as much positivity and good content. Gotta love yourself. You have to love yourself also. You have to know who you are. If you loathe yourself, it's going to be very, very, very hard for you to experience love when you're alone. And I'm not saying from a standpoint of love yourself like I'm great. Know your worth. Know who you are. Know that you've been made in the image of the one God. Once you know your worth, you'll never feel alone. I hope that answers your question. That's my perspective. I'm sure you can get that question answered by 1,000 different people. They would answer it probably a couple different ways. But I can't. I can only answer it from where my heart is. And I hope you receive that.
Frank, can I ask you one question?
Nice and loud.
Can I ask you one question in that same vein? Do you think it's okay to be honest with God and to say, my heart is broken, and to allow God to come in and heal that broken heart?
Yeah, Marie just attended another question. It said, can you essentially be brokenhearted and even angry at God and still be able to do that? The truth of the matter is, I'm a prayerful man, and I've never yelled at God so much as I've yelled at him in the last year. In fact, I never yelled at him. I actually felt bad. I was like, oh my God. But you know something? I realized that I'm in an authentic place, and I'm crying out at times saying, God, I need reality. I need you to draw up close to me. I need to be able to feel you right now and to heal my heart. And I believe you could do that in a very real place, and it doesn't necessarily have to be on your knees, being God, God, God. You could be in that. You could be in that angry place even, because God appreciates honesty. I have another one over here. It says, how can I love if I feel hopeless, and what could I do? Get around the right people who are going to encourage you. Stop watching garbage. Garbage in, garbage out. I talked about this for years. Stop watching things that are negative. Things that are going to drown your spirit. Things that come into your spirit and just defile you. Look for good people. Run from bad people. You have no idea how important being in fellowship with good people is. It's so important. I have another question over here that says, oh, actually, I've read them all.
Yeah.
Is that all of them?
The other two are the same, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know something? Spending this time with you right now has been a highlight for me. I was wondering, I was saying to myself, I wonder if I'm going to be able to fill up the full 45 minutes. And I really believe we've done that. So it went off.
It cut off then. It was.
So
yeah.
Anyway, we had a little bit of technical difficulty. I wish it didn't end right there, but for those of you guys picking this up elsewhere on some of our other avenues, I would like to say thank you so much for joining us this evening. God bless you. Have a loving Valentine's Day, and may love permeate every iota of your being. Thank you so much. Just about